Your Social Security benefits just got more valuable, and there's even bigger news coming that could put hundreds more dollars in your pocket each month. Right now, millions of Americans are already seeing the effects of this year's cost of living adjustment. But what most people don't realize is that 2025 and 2026 are shaping up to be landmark years for Social Security recipients. Here's what's actually happening with your money. The 2.5% increase that started in January is putting an extra $47 per month into the average retiree's account. That's real money you can count on. But the story gets better. Economic forecasters are predicting that 2026 could bring one of the most significant cost of living adjustments we've seen in years, potentially reaching 2.8%, which would mean an additional $648 to $672 annually for the typical Social Security recipient. Beyond the numbers, there are critical rule changes happening that affect when and how you can claim benefits, especially if you were born between 1959 and 1960. The full retirement age is shifting, and understanding these changes could be the difference between leaving thousands on the table or maximizing every dollar you've earned over your working years. We're going to break down exactly what these changes mean for your specific situation and show you the strategies that financial advisors are using to help their clients navigate these transitions successfully. Now, let me tell you exactly what's happening with your money right now, because there are some incredible developments that most people still haven't heard about. And frankly, the mainstream media isn't doing a great job explaining how these changes directly impact your wallet. What I'm seeing happening across the country is that millions of Americans are discovering they're entitled to significantly more money than they ever realized. And it's not just about the regular cost of living adjustments we typically talk about. The biggest story that's unfolding right now involves something called the Social Security Fairness Act. And if you've worked in government service as a teacher, firefighter, police officer, or any public sector job where you earned a pension, this could mean thousands of dollars coming your way. The Social Security Administration has already completed sending over 3.1 million payments totaling $17 billion to eligible beneficiaries, and they finished this process 5 months ahead of schedule. Through March 2025 alone, over 1.1 million people received retroactive payments, averaging $6,710 each. Think about that for a moment. Nearly $7,000 in back payments that many people didn't even know they were owed. What happened here is that for decades, there were these two provisions called the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset that were essentially penalizing people who had worked both in the private sector, paying into Social Security, and in public sector jobs that had their own pension systems. The Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law on January 5, 2025, and it completely eliminates these reductions for people receiving public pensions from work not covered by Social Security. If this sounds like it might apply to you, you need to check your records immediately because the Social Security Administration is actively processing these cases and sending out notices. Now, beyond these major lump sum payments, let's talk about what's happening with your regular monthly benefits. The 2.5% increase that took effect in January is affecting over 72.5 million Americans, and the average monthly Social Security retirement benefit is now $1,976. For most people, this translates to an additional $47 to $50 per month, which might not sound earth-shattering, but when you multiply that over 12 months, you're looking at nearly $600 more per year than what you were receiving in 2024. But here's where it gets really interesting. And this is information that most financial advisors are keeping close to their chest because they want to charge you for this advice. The Senior Citizens League is estimating that the 2026 cost of living adjustment could be 2.7%, which is higher than this year's 2.5% increase. Now, I know that might not sound like a huge difference, but let me break down what that actually means in real dollars. If you're receiving that average monthly benefit of around $2,000, a 2.7% increase would put an additional $54 per month into your account, bringing your annual increase to about $650. The timing of these increases is crucial, and this is something that not enough people understand. Your Social Security benefits are protected against inflation in a way that most other retirement income sources simply aren't. When you look at what's happening with prices for everything from groceries to healthcare to housing, having this built-in protection is worth far more than most people realize. While people with fixed pensions or those living off savings are seeing their purchasing power erode, Social Security recipients are getting automatic adjustments that help maintain their standard of living. Now, let's talk about some changes that are happening behind the scenes that could significantly impact your overall financial picture. The maximum amount of earnings subject to Social Security taxes has increased to $176,100 in 2025, up from $168,600 in 2024. Now, if you're retired, this might not seem immediately relevant to you, but it actually is, because this change affects the overall funding of the Social Security system and helps ensure the long-term stability of your benefits. There's also something happening with the earnings limits that's really important if you're still working while collecting Social Security benefits. For 2025, if you haven't reached your full retirement age, you can earn up to $23,400 without any reduction in your Social Security benefits. If you earn more than that, they deduct $1 from your benefits for every $2 you earn over the limit. This is actually an increase from previous years, which means you have more flexibility to earn additional income without penalties. Here's something that I find fascinating and that most people don't realize. The way these cost of living adjustments are calculated is based on inflation data from the third quarter of the previous year. So the increase you're getting in 2025 is actually based on price changes that occurred between July and September of 2024. This means that if inflation continues to climb in 2025, as many economists are predicting, you could see an even more substantial increase in 2026. Some financial experts are suggesting that we could see cost of living adjustments in the 3 to 4% range in the coming years, which would be significantly higher than what we've seen recently. The Social Security Administration has also made some important changes to how they process applications and handle benefits that are making things easier for recipients. They've streamlined many of their online services, and they're processing benefit applications faster than they have in years. This is particularly important if you're approaching retirement age and trying to figure out the optimal time to start claiming your benefits. Speaking of timing, this is probably one of the most crucial decisions you'll make regarding your Social Security benefits, and it's where many people leave significant money on the table. You can start collecting retirement benefits as early as age 62, but your monthly payment will be permanently reduced by as much as 30%. Conversely, if you wait past your full retirement age, you can earn an extra 8% per year until age 70. Let me put this in perspective with real numbers. If your full retirement age benefit would be $2,000 per month, claiming at 62 would reduce that to about $1,400 per month for the rest of your life. But if you wait until 70, that same $2,000 benefit becomes about $2,640 per month. The math on this is pretty compelling, especially when you factor in the cost of living adjustments. Those annual increases apply to whatever your base benefit amount is. So if you've maximized your base benefit by waiting until 70, those percentage increases translate to much larger dollar amounts each year. Over a 20 or 25-year retirement, the difference between claiming early and claiming late can easily amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars in total lifetime benefits. Now, I want to address something that I'm hearing from a lot of people, and that's concern about the long-term viability of Social Security. There's a lot of fear-mongering out there about Social Security going bankrupt or benefits being cut, but the reality is much more nuanced than what you're hearing in the media. Yes, there are funding challenges that need to be addressed, but Social Security has built-in protections and multiple revenue streams that make it highly unlikely that benefits would simply disappear. What's more likely to happen is that Congress will make adjustments to ensure the program's long-term sustainability. This could involve things like gradually raising the retirement age for younger workers, increasing the cap on earnings subject to Social Security taxes, or making modest adjustments to the benefit calculation formula. But for current retirees and those approaching retirement, these potential changes are much less likely to have a significant impact. The key thing to understand is that Social Security is not just a government program. It's an insurance program that you've paid into throughout your working career. To earn Social Security credits in 2025, you need wages and self-employment income of $1,810 for one credit and $7,240 to get the maximum 4 credits for the year. This represents your continued investment in the system, and it's why you have a legal right to these benefits. As we move through 2025 and into 2026, I expect we'll see continued focus on protecting and enhancing Social Security benefits rather than cutting them. The political reality is that Social Security is incredibly popular across all demographic groups, and politicians know that proposing cuts to current benefits is essentially political suicide. Instead, what we are more likely to see are proposals to expand benefits, particularly for lower-income recipients and those who have been affected by provisions like the windfall elimination provision that we talked about earlier. The bottom line is that if you're receiving Social Security benefits, you're in a much better position than many other retirees when it comes to inflation protection and guaranteed income. Your benefits are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. They're adjusted annually for cost of living increases, and recent legislative changes have actually expanded benefits for many recipients. The key is to stay informed about these changes and make sure you're taking advantage of all the benefits you're entitled to receive.